Okay, so here we are for our lesson on calculations with significant figures. So we have two different sets of rules. One set of rules is for adding and subtracting. The other set is for multiplication and division. It's going to be important during the video that you will pause and try the problems as we go, and then compare your answers with my answers in the discussion that I have about them. So with addition and subtraction, your answer can only be as precise as the least precise measurement. So that's really important that we focus on that least precise measurement to be added or subtracted. So then the answer must be rounded to the place of precision of the least precise of the measurements. So think of the weakest link in the chain. So maybe we had two different measurement instruments that were used. I don't know if these were maybe links. So if I had one measurement tool that the uncertain digit was in the thousands and another tool where the uncertain digit is in the hundreds, then when I add these, I can only report my answer to the hundreds. My answer cannot be more precise than my least precise measurement. Okay, so when you calculate these, your calculator will give you an answer that goes to the thousands place. Then you will round to the hundreds place to get the place value of precision. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and add these three numbers together, and then look at your calculator to see what number you get when you do this, when you add these together with your calculator. So my guess is that when you calculated this, you get a number, you get 36.731, okay? So that's your calculator answer. But if I look back at each of the measurements that are taken, I can see that this number right here only went to the tenths place. So my answer then has to be rounded to the tenths place. So my correct answer with correct sig figs would be 36.7, because I would round. I'd look at my last number that I can report in the tens place, look at the 3. The 3 is going to make that 7 stay a 7. Okay? And then, of course, you put units on it. All right, so go ahead and subtract these numbers. Okay? And when we subtract, we get, what, 43.322. Okay? Now I look back at my numbers. This number goes to the thousands. This number goes to the hundreds. So my answer can only go to the hundreds. So again, I'm going to look at the number after the hundreds and see that my final answer is going to be 43.32. Okay. Now down here, go ahead and add these numbers together in your calculator. And when we add those together, we get 32.341. Okay, oh, 1. That should be 1. So we got to round because we've got a number that goes out to the hundreds, we got a number that goes to the tens, and we got a number that goes to the thousands. So my answer can only go to the tens place. So I'm going to keep this 3. Look at the number behind it. It's a 2. So my answer is going to be 30. Okay. So for adding and subtracting, you have to look at all the numbers you're adding or subtracting, and then look to see where the place value of least precision is, and your answer will be rounded to that value. Okay. So let's go down here to multiplication and division. Okay. So if we go down to multiplication and division, the answer can contain only as many sig figs as the measurement with the least number of significant figures. So now we are actually counting sig figs. So adding and subtracting, place value of least precision. Multiplying and dividing, its least number of significant figures. So here we have a number that's a whole bunch of sig figs. So we got decimal, we're going to jump to the right, we're going to count from the first non-zero till the precision runs out. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sig figs in this number. This number only has 1, so when you multiply them, you can only carry 1 sig fig. Okay. So once you go ahead and do the math, then go ahead and type this into your calculator, 1700 divided by 5.80. The answer your calculator is going to give you is 293.10. That number has 5 significant figures. But if I look at my numbers over here, this number only has 2 sig figs. This number has 3. The decimal, jump to the right, first non-zero till the precision runs out. So I can only carry 2 sig figs in this number. So we're going to carry the first 2, and then we're going to add a 0 as a placeholder. So 290 is the answer. No decimal, no bar, because if I did that, that 0 then becomes significant. All right, so go ahead and multiply these 3 numbers together. And your calculator will give you 9,564.8. And we're going to look here and count sig figs. We got 4, 3, and 2. So I can only keep 2 sig figs in this answer, and we'll keep the 9 and the 5. Well, the 6 is behind the 5, so the 5 rounds up. So I go to 9,600. Okay, so I can only keep 2 sig figs. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try the next 3. Okay, here are your correct answers. And we have units on this. So we're going to multiply. Calculator answer is 48,825. So you do not have to write down the calculator answer. We should get to the point where you see this number in the calculator, and then in your head, you're rounding. So we need, this one has 3 sig figs, 2 sig figs. We're going to round to 2. This is an 8 here, so we're going to keep the 4 and the 8. 8 behind it, that bumps up. So we get 49,000. Now it's centimeters times centimeters. So that would be centimeters squared. Okay, add these 3 numbers together. Okay, now this is adding. So we get 201.5 is the calculator answer. And then because it's adding, let's look at place value of least precision. We got tens, tenths, and ones. So we're good to the tens. So this is going to be 200 just centimeters, because all we did was add them together. Okay. And we need to go to the tens place. Oops, so we need a bar over that 0. Okay, again, adding. So this is place value. Goes to the tenths, goes to the thousands. I'm going to report, or sorry, the hundredths here and the thousands. So we're going to report to the hundredths place. Answer the calculator gives you is 1.649. So we've got to round this to the hundredths place. We're going to keep the 4, look behind it. That's going to make that round up. So it becomes 1.65 milliliters. Okay, so multiplication is sig figs. Adding and subtracting is place value. Now, a PV for place value of least precision. Okay. All right. So on, you have some practice to do on the next page. Oh, not the next page. Practice to do on page 10. Okay. So when you get to page 10, go through first. So these are all adding and subtracting. Okay. So that's going to be place value of least precision. This is multiplying, dividing. So that's going to be counting sig figs. When you get toward the bottom, now they're all mixed up. Okay. So you got to look. This right here is adding. So you're going by place value. Dividing, you're going by sig figs. Sig figs. Okay. Place value. So look to see what function you're doing, and what mathematical calculation you're doing, and that'll determine how you report your numbers.